All right. Well, tomorrow is match day. Today is the 18th of March. Congrats to those who made it, but here's some help for those of you that did not. First thing, maybe you tried to do this, and it's just like buying a house. The first time there'll be some mistakes, even if you have someone alongside you to help you. Some of those mistakes can be fixed in phase two. And just to give you some, hope and all of that, the next 2 years will be the easiest 2 years in a long time to get a residency. And then after that, as the pharmacy school numbers have been going up, they will get progressively more difficult again. But the next 2 years will be quite not easy, but easier, as it were. So again, the first thing, the DIY residency prep course is free. Just go to residency.teachable.com. Memorizing 2024 is the $95 coupon, so you can get all the videos and all the recommendations and all that. They can help you. And I just wanted to go over some of the things that you can change and some of the things that you might not be able to change as you go. So kind of a top 10 list. Because the most difficult thing to do is to process what happened and then get back in there really quickly. I will tell you, though, this is something most people don't know that have not done this before, is that you don't have to wait. Okay, so you do have to wait to apply, but you don't have to wait to talk to people. Okay, so people are already emailing minutes after the list comes out and saying, "Hey, we have some kind of relationship, we know each other," or something like that. Or maybe you don't and say, "Hey, this is a very short summary of what I'm doing or what I did. This is what I think happened and why I didn't match." For example, I tried to go ambulatory or acute care, and I ended up sounding maybe a little wishy-washy by not choosing one or the other. Or I applied to only four sites or something like that. But something that reasonably makes sense that, oh, okay, well, first timer's mistake, no problem. We need someone. You need a place to go. Let's talk about this. And so I'm going to just go over a quick list of some of the things and what I would do with each of them. The LOI certainly is one of the first things that you would look at. And maybe you thought the LOI was something that was just kind of a checkbox, something that you just did and you just kind of got it out of the way, like an assignment. And you don't get graded on it, and you never know what your grade is. But it actually is the only chance you have to really say why you match. And a lot of times students will do something that sounds a lot more like, I am this, I am that, I am that, and you kind of list how all the good things about you, but you never say why you match. So, you say like I'm 6'5", like if you think of dating, like I'm 6'5", I'm not, I'm 5'9". But I'm 6'5", and I'm great at this and I'm great at that, and that's great. But our position here is for a gymnast, and we are looking for someone that's closer to like 5'2", 5'4", right? Just to kind of give an analogy there. So if the letter of intent was not focused on them, then that was a problem. Um, the interview may have gone horribly wrong, not necessarily because of your fault, but because maybe somebody already had an in with somebody, and maybe somebody already knew, kind of what to expect and those types of things. Maybe your interview was one of the first, one of the most important ones, and you kind of got what was going on, and then you ended up flubbing it because it was your first, right? Maybe the clinical experience that you thought you had was enough, and it wasn't. It was, maybe you're talking about an acute care site that expects, four, maybe even five acute, appies that are significantly clinical, and maybe you had two or three, and other people had better situation. Okay. Maybe your resume just too many people go off the CV. Like, the CV is a thing to help with check boxes. Like, okay, they had their leadership position, they had their poster at ASHP and all of these things. If it wasn't pretty, it's not really a thing. It's much more that it didn't have the things that they needed, And you can and should be able to, in 5 to 10 seconds, tell like, oh, that's an AM care pharmacist, that's a managed care pharmacist, that's an acute care pharmacist from the CV. And if you can't tell that right away, then you're in trouble. Or maybe you look at it and you say, well, I'm applying to acute care, but somebody says that's really an ambulatory care list of things that you did. You know, you went to clinics, you went to retail, you did all these things that are very AM care, but you applied to acute care. Something that most people don't think about also is the hospital experience. So you can quickly look on LinkedIn and see all the residents that are there right now and say, oh my gosh, every single one of them had a hospital work experience before they went there. And I didn't apply with any hospital work experience. And you say that seems a little unfair, but if you think about it, you're applying for a hospital job. So they expect that you've worked in a hospital, and maybe that's the case at some of the top sites. Your This is the toughest one, I think, to stomach. To know that one of your instructors or professors tanked uh, a recommendation, and they were being honest, and they, you signed off and said that you didn't have to see what it was. But I think there's some bit of decorum where there's an expectation that if you are paying a school and these are your professors, that your professor will politely say, I can write it for you, but I wouldn't recommend that I write it for you. And just I always say, to ask the question, can you write a positive letter of recommendation for me? That's what you want to say to them. Um, Professionalism doesn't tend to be too much of an issue. You've been through Appies, you put the tie on, you put the business casual on. That's not usually an issue. GPA, maybe you applied and you thought, well, I'm so close to their cutoff GPA, and they really are like, no, that's our cutoff. That's it. Or maybe they weigh GPA a lot more than you expected, and maybe there's some place that doesn't weigh GPA quite as much. Okay? Some places do really require that you are president or vice president of something. That's just a thing, and that's just because they have so many applications, they can do that. And maybe you only apply to those places. Some places are very research intensive, and if you don't have a poster at ASHP, or you don't have the background that says it's going to be relatively straightforward for you to move from an Appy project to a residency project, well, that's going to be maybe they don't have the capacity to help you with that. And they're actually doing you a favor, like, we can't help you get that poster going. We expect you to be able to do most of that. And then some people will think that they ranked wrong. That is, they put the wrong ones in order, but it's so skewed toward the applicant. It's more that you didn't apply to the right places than you didn't rank the places that you applied. So I'll say that again. It's more that you didn't apply to the right places where you truly matched. So in state is a much higher match rate than out of state. In like if you're in the deep south, like you are more likely to match in the deep south, northeast, northeast, west coast, midwest, midwest. Not necessarily because they don't like people from outside. There's just that they're more likely to have that familiarity, and it's a lot easier to match, quite literally. I even had somebody that sent a reading of their um, letter of intent because they did have that accent, and they really showed. I was like, well, that's definitely one of us. So again, it's really just I really wanted to go for these really top ones, and I hate to say safety residencies because it's not really that way, but that maybe that something like that happened. So those are the reasons that maybe you can do a little bit something about. But the big thing is that you just need to get on the horn and just almost like you need to skip the grief process until like later. Like you need to like put the grief process off for right now and just get to work and just start contacting people. And the nice thing is that if you contact significant number of people, a lot of them will write back because they also need someone. They've got the budget for it. They need somebody. And you're going to get a lot back. And that what that does is that says, okay, these are the ones I start with. And the people that don't write you back are the ones that you don't start with. And so that's how it goes. But again, if you've got a question, like, Tony, you've been doing this a while. I just want to, I just don't want to have to go to my own faculty. I don't want to go to my own friends who are hashtag blessed on X and Facebook and Instagram and, taking pictures of their, acceptances. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to go to them. I just want to go to somebody that is not going to judge me, that has no emotional anything in this, just is going to say, here, this is what I get sent them. What do you think? And then I'll be like, okay, well, that's a template I've seen before, or that looks like ChatGPT wrote it, or that actually looks outstanding. Are you sure one of your recommenders didn't sync you? Because that might have been the case. So again, I want you to succeed. So Tony the pharmacist at gmail.com if you got questions. So congrats to those of you that got the residency, good for you. But I'm always I'm much more interested in the group that needs help. And that would, just need somebody that's non-judgmental, that's just going to be able to help them see what they couldn't see because this was the first time around. And you do need to give yourself some grace. I I remember buying my first place, and I was like, oh, I bought a little one-bedroom condo, not thinking, I probably don't want to be on the first floor when somebody lifts weights on the floor above me. I probably don't want to have only one toilet because then if that toilet's not working, that's an emergency. I Anyway, and it goes on and on. So give yourself some grace. Please put the grief till after phase two is over. Okay. We've had many people who have matched in phase two, and the chances are much higher than it has been in the past. And so there is a chance if that's something that you want, especially if you are in one of the top matching colleges of pharmacy. So I will tell you this, and I'm skewed. I've watched the data. The the acceptances in phase two are significantly skewed towards those that have the highest match rates already. And so if you want to think about that, like, okay, let's say like UNC or Iowa or Minnesota or whatever has this super high match rate. Okay. What the other side is thinking, the residency is thinking is like, okay, well, this is the top place that people got residencies. So this must be the top producers of residents to be. So we definitely want to see from them. But I think it worked out to be something like 50% of the residencies went to like the top like 20 or 30 colleges of pharmacy. And then the other 50% went to the other 110. So if you're at a top residency matching site, and this is painful, of course, that everybody in your class except you matched, well, you are actually much more likely to match than somebody that is in a place where most of them did not match. So it's kind of heaven and hell at the same time. So Tony the pharmacist at gmail.com if you got questions. I'm on vacation, but I'll be responding throughout the day and throughout the week, and let's see if I can help you out. So again, best of luck, and match day is here.